Former U.S. President Donald Trump held his first outdoor rally in North Carolina Wednesday, his first since surviving last month's assassination attempt. He spoke from behind a podium surrounded by panes of bulletproof glass, forming a protective wall across the stage. The event was billed as being focused on national security issues, and he railed against Vice President Kamala Harris's approach to national security. Allies urged Trump to focus on policy instead of personal attacks, as he struggles to adjust to running against Harris after Joe Biden dropped out of the race. The North Carolina rally is part of his week-long trip across America to draw attention away from the Democratic National Convention.
4 years ago, our country was strong and respected like never before. Our allies admired us. Our enemies feared us because everyone knew that as an American president, I was all about putting America first. That's true. Under my leadership, we rebuilt the United States military, created Space Force, and we made our allies pay their fair share and their fair dues. You know, we went to NATO, we say, you're not paying, you got to pay.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is to visit Ukraine on Friday for a meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky 6 weeks after he held talks with Vladimir Putin in Moscow. Modi arrived in Poland on Wednesday. The Indian Prime Minister will hold talks today with his Polish counterpart Donald Tusk and President Andrzej Duda, focusing on security and trade. Ukraine hit out at Modi for his visit to Moscow last month when he met and hugged Putin. Modi has avoided condemning Russia. Ahead of his arrival, Modi said Poland remains India's key economic partner in Central Europe. The Indian leader's visit also marks 70 years of official bilateral relations between New Delhi and Warsaw. Torrential rain hit Tokyo on Wednesday night, causing chaos in the Japanese capital. Flooding in the streets of Tokyo resulted in a major disruption of the city's massive transport network. The Japan Meteorological Agency said roughly 100 millimeters of rain fell in 1 hour before 7 p.m. local time in Minato-ku in central Tokyo. Local media reported a brief suspension of the rail network's JR Yamanote line. Ground operations at Haneda Airport were suspended for about an hour because of lightning strikes. Some flights were canceled. The Buildings Department has approved a Hong Kong Jockey Club plan to redevelop part of its Shan Kwong Road sports complex in Happy Valley into 3 residential buildings. A surveyor has put the market value of the property at $6 billion. Mim Mosingai reports.
This is the sports complex of the Jockey Club at 48 Shan Kwong Road in Happy Valley. Located in a prime area, the complex has multiple facilities, including tennis courts, golf simulator rooms, and squash courts. The Jockey Club has a redevelopment plan for the site. Under the plan, 3 21-story high residential buildings will be constructed with a total floor area of 48,000 square feet. The Buildings Department approved the project in June. While this is the first residential project of the Jockey Club, the redevelopment plan has sparked controversies. According to the Town Planning Board, the Jockey Club has owned the land involved since 1933, first using the site as stables. After the completion of the starting racecourse, the Shan Kwong Road stables were no longer in use. In 1981, the Town Planning Board agreed to change the land use of the old stable site from other designated usages to residential. It was also stated that the land had to include the development of sports and leisure facilities. However, the club did not work on the residential development but applied for a temporary planning permission multiple times to change the purpose of the land to leisure. In 2021, the club once again applied for the temporary planning permission and promised to redevelop the plot of land for residential usage. The Development Bureau said the club is not required to pay a land premium, a payment that the land user needs to make in order to obtain the land use rights. That's because the land involved was purchased through a public auction. Lawmaker Andrew Lam, who is also a land planner, said Jockey Club can provide more details to the public to clear any doubt. News 9, TVB News.
Welcome back. Premier Li Qiang held meetings with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow yesterday to solidify the two countries' cooperation and reaffirm commitments to regional and international issues. The two sides also agreed to deepen people-to-people exchanges as 2024 and 2025 have been designated as the China-Russia Years of Culture. Danny Zhou has more.
Russian President Vladimir Putin welcomed the visiting Chinese premier with a handshake at the Kremlin. This year marked the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relationship between the two countries. President Xi Jinping and Putin have met twice this year, and Li's trip was the first high-level Chinese visit to Russia since Ukraine's incursion into the Russian border region of Kursk. Hitting their growing trade ties, Putin said China and Russia had developed large-scale plans for economic cooperation and other projects. Their bilateral trade last year exceeded $240 billion, nearly 2.7 times the 2014 figure. Li vowed to implement the consensus reached by the two heads of state and yield more practical results via all-round mutually beneficial cooperation. Li arrived in Moscow Tuesday to attend the 29th regular meeting between the heads of the two governments, including the talks with Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin. Li voiced Beijing's readiness to bring their comprehensive strategic partnership of coordination to a new level. They witnessed the signing of a bunch of bilateral agreements with a main focus on energy. In the joint communique, the two sides agreed that joint efforts would be made to optimize trade structure, create new economic growth points, and promote e-commerce development. China will work with Russia in emerging areas such as digital economy, biomedicine, and green development, while consolidating traditional cooperation. Meanwhile, Sputnik reported that Russia might seek to increase its agro-product supply to the Chinese market. Li is set to end his 4-day overseas trip in Belarus, where he will meet Prime Minister Roman Golovchenko to exchange views on bilateral relations and cooperation in various sectors. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
A Chinese research team has discovered a groundbreaking method of extracting enough water for 50 people's consumption needs in a single day from 1 ton of lunar soil. These specialists hope their findings will resolve the problem of finding resources during the construction of a research station on the moon. This as the mainland planned to complete its lunar research station in 2035. The lunar soil samples were retrieved during the Chang'e 5's mission in 2020. Members of the research team said water vapor was produced when the lunar soil was heated to the temperature of 1,000 degrees Celsius. Upon further examination, the team found each ton of lunar soil can yield up to 76 kilograms of water. As part of the MTR's 45th anniversary celebrations, local residents have the opportunity to ride a replica of the public transport company's first-generation trains. Timothy Lee tells us more.
MTR fans would instantly recognize the vintage white-colored train that returned to service today. Celebrating the MTR's 45th anniversary, part of the carriages of a train were remodeled as their first-generation counterparts. The train first ran from Choi Hong to Homan-tin, attracting hordes of train enthusiasts along the way. Residents took a trip down memory lane when they were treated to the retro design of the train's interior, with its ball-shaped handles and orange ceiling. This man said he used to board these trains all the time when he got home from secondary school. He reminisced how train rides used to be much quieter when no one was using a mobile phone. While this father wanted his son to witness this part of Hong Kong's history, emphasizing that his child needs to know how much the city has progressed over the years. Besides the vintage hardware, photos of MTR's evolution over the decades detail the achievements made throughout the SAR's history of public transport. This, as Undersecretary of Transport and Logistics Liu Chun-san noted the city's collective memory of the first-generation train, adding that it is part of Hong Kong's treasured past. MTR first began operating in October 1979, with train services initially traveling just between Kwun Tong and Shek Kip Mei before its gradual expansion. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Starting next Monday, driverless bus trial services will begin at the Fairview Park residential estate in Yuen Long. The autonomous shuttles will officially enter service in October. The two driverless buses with 12 and 8 seats each were installed with sensors that can detect whether passengers are wearing their seat belts. The 8-seater also has a seat reserved for residents who require a wheelchair. The vehicles are limited to a maximum speed of 30 kilometers per hour. They have a driver on standby who can operate the bus manually in emergency situations. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.